Hello and welcome to Inside Iraq. I'm Jassim Azawi. The former Iraqi interim Prime Minister Ayad Allawi has been living in a political wilderness for more than 4 years. But now he's banking on returning to power in the upcoming parliamentary election next January. Yet so far, he has failed to build a powerful political bloc to challenge either the coalition headed by his chief nemesis, the current Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, or the Iraqi National Alliance headed by Ammar al-Hakim. Ayad Allawi has a few friends in neighboring Iran due to his constant accusations of Iranian interference in Iraq. His critics and even some supporters say his style of rule is authoritarian and it's bound to harm him and his cause. And now I'm joined from Baghdad by Dr. Ayad Allawi, Iraq's former interim prime minister. Dr. Allawi, welcome to Inside Iraq. Let us start with the latest, and that is
Thank you.
The Iraqi parliament has just postponed a vote on a new election bill until Monday. And this constant delay and postponement definitely is helping somebody, because what's at stake is an open list vis-a-vis a closed list. To explain to our international viewers, an open list is that where a group, they list every single candidate running for office, for parliament, while a closed list, just like happened in 2005, you really don't know who you are voting for. So I'm asking you, who is scheming behind this postponement?
In fact, yet this is another failure by the Iraqi parliament to produce a strategic law which would hopefully would have been cementing democracy, but unfortunately this is not the case. Likewise, the parliament have failed in producing a law for the parties, to say where the funding from these parties are coming from, what they are, who they are they national, are they sectarian, are they secular? So there are no laws of elections. Indeed, the Iraqi people are disenchanted with the so-called closed lists, because usually it's either voting for the sect or voting for the leader of the list.
Who will benefit from
really
this? I understand you are for the open list. Many other Iraqi politicians are for the open list, including the Prime Minister. And he said, we will not accept any postponement of the election under any circumstance. So tell me, if everybody says we are with the open list, who is delaying it then?
Well, frankly, we have been lobbying for an open list, but it is the government, it's the sectarian forces that have been lobbying in the parliament.
Are you alluding to the Iraqi National Alliance headed by Ammar al-Hakim?
I am alluding to most of the sectarian groups in the parliament, because they were in control of last parliament in the first elections, and they decided that they should go on the closed list, not the open list. And this remains the case until now, although there are really very strong calls and lobbying from other forces in Iraq that we need to have an open list rather than a closed list.
Since you mentioned sectarian parties and sectarian blocs, perhaps some of them are affiliated with Iran. One thing I know for sure, over the past several years, you've been attacking Iran for its interference in Iraq, and there is almost like a veto by Iran against you. Is that true? Are you and Iran on the out?
No, well, I have been calling for a stable region, for a region where the trade links and economic links are the predominant feature, where there is a kind of security, there is kind of assurances and dialogue between all regional forces. I think this remains a must in the region, and there is no way really to go into stability in this region without talking to each other. That's why I personally was behind the first Sharm el-Sheikh meeting, where all regional forces met under the umbrella of the UN and the presence of the Gulf Cooperation Council and the Arab League. Unfortunately, this conference was not followed through by successive governments who came after me.
We will talk about that and your relationship with the current Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki. But please put to the rest to put to rest a rumor that it has been circulating. As a matter of fact, it was mentioned in one of the pan-Arab newspapers, says that Ayad Allawi had a secret trip to Iran to get the green light from Iran's revolutionary force in order to run as the sole candidate for the Iraqi National Alliance. Is that true? Did you visit Iran secretly?
Wallahi, it is not true, Jassim, because, it's very difficult for me to travel secretly. I can't be hiding in a suitcase. I am a known figure. It's difficult to travel. I don't travel alone usually. With secretaries, I travel with bodyguards. So really, this is not the case. I haven't been to Iran. I don't have an invitation to go to Iran. I haven't really, in my schedule in the future, I don't have a visit to Iran. So this is all fabrication.
I'm glad we put this to rest, this fabrication. At least the newspaper perhaps will retract this information. Iraqi politicians are at a frenzy to create coalitions and alliances. The Iraqi National Alliance, headed by Ammar al-Hakim, is banking that its candidates will become the next prime minister. You, on the other hand, have not created a powerful bloc. Yesterday, there was an announcement that Dr. Tariq al-Abdallah, who heads the Watani Iraq is my country, joined you, and Salih al-Mutlaq and you have a great relationship. But some people say Ayad Allawi will not play second fiddle to anybody. He wants to be the front runner. Otherwise, he will take his marbles and go home.
No, this is not true. It's not accurate. We are discussing with a lot of groups. We have been discussing with a lot of groups what should happen, what kind of alliances. You have to know, Jassim, we in the Iraqi list, we believe in a secular Iraq and a unified Iraq. We believe in national reconciliation, and we believe in building the institutions of the state loyal to Iraq rather than loyal to the sect or to the group or to the party. And we are talking to others to see and find out which is the closest to us to make a kind of a coalition. Many people are joining us, many people are merging with us, including our friend Tariq al-Abdallah. But definitely we are talking to others, and I am sure that in the next 2-3 days you will hear good news, I hope, that some of the national Iraqis will get together with forge a coalition and fight the elections, hopefully, and achieve success.
You mentioned two words, secularists and liberals. These are the base of your support, the political machinery that you have. You achieved some excellent results in the provincial elections just a few months ago. But let me ask you, without the religious vote, which is predominant nowadays, can you really win?
I hope so. I mean, we should really embark on victory. Otherwise, we should not go to the elections. And let me tell you about the provincial elections. Two things have emerged from these elections a few months ago. One is that it showed the mood of the people is quite anti-sectarian. And secondly, it did reflect that people are disillusioned with the groups who have politicized religion. These were very clear results in the provincial elections, and they can be used as good indicators. And another indicator which is very helpful is that the sectarian forces are splitting, and they are using the same slogans and the same themes that we have been advocating.
So they are stealing your programs.
Well, they can't, because the programs is not only theory, it's practice also. They have to show that they are practicing it, and I hope they have changed really, because with all my heart, I feel that the fate of Iraq cannot be sectarian. It has to be for all Iraqis, and it has to be focused on building a state, a full-blown state with full-blown institutions, national institutions rather than sectarian institutions.
Since you mentioned practice, let us stop for a little bit, Ayad Allawi, and let's talk about you and your practices. Since you created the National Accord movement, Harakat al-Wifaq al-Watani, back in London in 1995, many of your friends, many of your comrades, they have actually abandoned you. I can't go into all the names, but people like Salah al-Sheikh, Nouri Badran, and many others. Recently, I'll mention Mahdi al-Hafidh and perhaps even Ayad Jamaluddin. They say Ayad Allawi is tyrannical, he's authoritarian, he's another Saddam. He has to have his way or he will not play ball.
Well, maybe, I don't know. I mean, you know, we established the INA in 1990. Salah al-Sheikh did not leave. In fact, he is still in contact with us, and he was ambassador to London and resigned. And many others who joined the fight against the ex-regime are still part and parcel of the INA and of the Iraqi list. There are, of course, people whom have joined us only for tactical reasons, for the sake of elections. And indeed, this is a practice in all democracies.
If that is the case, Dr. Allawi, that perhaps in the past, but in the recent a few weeks that passed, I understand there was a meeting. You were one of the principal in that room with Ayad Jamaluddin, Izzat al-Shah Bandar, and Mahdi al-Hafidh. They confronted you regarding the way you are running the Iraqi list. You don't listen to anybody, you don't consult anybody. Basically, you rule by diktat, and that's why they abandoned you.
There was no confrontation, there was no discussions. I was as surprised as any other body in the Iraqi list when they announced what they wanted, that they are leaving the list and they are accusing me of tyranny and so on. But they never raised these issues in the meetings. And you
they never told you you are ruling by diktat.
No.
You decide by a decision, let's join the government, and then a few months later, you know, if you don't like the government, you pull your ministers out of the government.
No. They indeed were advocating joining the government, but the unanimous decision, the overwhelming decision in the list was not to join the government. Only 3 wanted to join. The 3 who left. The rest of the 17 members rejected. 18 members rejected joining the government. Because, you know, it's not worth it anymore, because we are getting to the elections and we don't need to stain ourselves with the problems that the government have caused to the Iraqi people. So that's why democracy is to stick to the majority in the list. The majority, you can ask Dr. Pachachi, you can ask Madamaluji, you can ask all the rest of the friends in the list. They voted, all of them, that we shouldn't join the government.
Ayad Allawi, let's talk about the Ba'athists. This is a defunct party. At one stage in the early 70s, you were a rising star in the Ba'ath party. And right now, you are also defending them. You know, you want them to get their social security. You have stated that you are willing and ready to meet with Izzat al-Duri, who is waging a war against the government. Whenever you talked about Michel Aflaq, you say, God bless his soul. Do you really think the Ba'athists will support you? I know they support Salih al-Mutlaq, because as recent as 2003, he was a member of the Ba'ath party. But wouldn't supporting them alienate you, Ayad Allawi, or do you see a big reservoir of support among the Ba'athists for you?
No, indeed, I don't believe so. You know, they have fought me for more than almost 30 years. I was cut into pieces. I was a victim of assassination attempt. I was chased by the intelligence. But I am for reconciliation. I believe in reconciliation. I think that we should not really punish everybody. We should only punish those who committed the crimes. And this does not apply to the Ba'athists only. It applies to the ex-army, to the Sadrs, to everybody who never committed a crime really. Because after all, we can't only embark on revenge and killing and punishing and only because of what you believe or what you think. This is not on. That's why I am very much for reconciliation. And this bothers, unfortunately, a lot of people. That's why they accuse me of these fabrications, which is not true. I haven't met with Izzat Duri. I am not a member. I was one of the most wanted by the ex-regime in Iraq. But I don't hold a grudge against the Ba'athists or against the people or against the army or against the police. On the contrary, I think we should embark on reconciliation, and this is the only way to sort out the problems in Iraq. Without reconciliation, I don't think Iraq will stabilize.
I will come back to reconciliation in a minute, Ayad Allawi, but let us stay with the Ba'athists. This is, ironically, is the most organized party in Iraq today. If they are allowed to run for office, perhaps they will sweep the country, or perhaps they will have a big bloc in the Iraqi National Assembly. Why is the Iraqi government so adamant about alienating them and driving some of them to wage war against the government?
It's almost a similar story, you know. Frankly, I think the government is not sure of itself. I think once one is sure of themselves to deal with issues such as the Ba'athists, such as the Sadrs, then definitely one could embark on a very clear way to incorporate these people into the political process rather than fight them. We are seeing the bad example of Afghanistan, where Taliban now is spilling over into Pakistan. It's enlarging its activities in Afghanistan, and it's becoming a major force, all because of the oppression and repression that's going on, and all because of the cheating in the elections which was exposed recently in Afghanistan. We don't want to repeat this in Iraq. I think the government should not repeat this. I think the political forces should not repeat this. I think we should have a line of demarcation between those who belong to the Ba'ath Party and those who committed crimes. Those who committed the crimes should be punished according to the law of the land, and those who had to join because they had to live or they believed in the ideology of the Ba'ath Party, they should not be punished. They should be allowed a room to exercise their rights as citizens of the country.
Indeed, you're absolutely right regarding the Ba'athists. So far, they have been deprived of their right. It's only a question of time before they come into the political fold. But let me touch quickly upon one subject, upon one clause within the Iraqi election law. Why is the Iraqis living outside Iraq will not be allowed to vote for their candidate? Over 5-6 million Iraqis, they are entitled to choose their representative. You yourself, I am absolutely convinced you will benefit a lot from the Iraqis living abroad.
This is exactly why some forces here are objecting to incorporate Iraqis living outside in the process of voting and the process of democracy. And this is again why I always say that the political process is not straight, it's problematic. It needs to be balanced. Otherwise, this political process would lead to problems in the country. And one of these problems is the huge number of Iraqis who are leaving Iraq and living abroad because of the oppression or because of the problems they have faced. And they have to be given the right to vote in order to get them back to their own country.
Let me summarize it, Ayad Allawi. It is not in the interest of Ammar al-Hakim, the head of the Iraqi National Alliance, or the current Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki, for the Iraqis in the diaspora to vote for their candidates, is it?
Well, it is the government. You know, this is a function of the government. The government is responsible for these people leaving Iraq, and the government is and should be responsible for getting them to vote in order to ease their way back into their country, to live as normal citizens, as citizens who are productive in the political process. I think the government shoulders a big responsibility. Unfortunately, they are not caring.
Ayad Allawi, let me ask you about the head of that government, the current Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki. What is your problem with him? Is it true that you don't think he's qualified to be a Prime Minister? There were many efforts to reconcile you with him, even at the highest level of Jalal Talbani, and yet the relationship between you and him, at minimum, could be described frosty. At maximum, it could be said adversarial.
Well, you know, I have been very open to the government, supporting the government to the extent that we joined the government in the beginning. But unfortunately, we were faced with disenfranchisement by the government. We were attacked. Our people were arrested. A lot of people were arrested. We lost 13 members in the last elections.
Willy-nilly, just like that, he arrested your supporters without they have done anything?
Yeah, well, of course, well, because they were released ultimately. And this is ongoing. We lost last month 4 people were assassinated, and one narrowly escaped death. We tried very much to reason with the government, with His Excellency the Prime Minister, but unfortunately, he used to accuse me of meeting with Duri, accuse me of this Jund al-Islam, of Najaf, of trying to prepare a coup. I mean, you know, we are not into this. We are trying to build a country safe for everybody. And maybe he doesn't like my attitude towards certain problems, including reconciliation. But I think there is a big room here between me and him to discuss this and to arrive to a sound result. Because ultimately what happens, what matters is the fate of the country.
Last question, Ayad Allawi. I have less than 1 minute. Nobody is benefiting from this national reconciliation. So far, it's not happening. Whose interest is it to keep Iraq fractured like the way it is? There are so many political heads, and yet they are not coming together in one room and strike a grand bargain.
I think really there are forces who are benefiting, who have vested interest. Otherwise, they would have been embarking on reconciliation. I think, unfortunately, this stems.
Is Nouri al-Maliki for reconciliation, as he says?
Pardon?
Is Nouri al-Maliki for reconciliation, as he claims?
No, he's not, definitely. We haven't seen any step towards reconciliation at all. That's why you see the millions are swelling outside Iraq, and the problems are still engulfing the whole country.
So as long as Iraq is
nothing concrete have happened.
So as long as Iraq is not reconciled, the current Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki may yet win another round.
Well, I don't know. You know, they are in power, but definitely we don't have any reconciliation. And I believe very strongly that this country would never, ever settle down unless we reconcile, unless we build a national unity, until we depart sectarianism and move into forming a country suitable for every Iraqi and each Iraqi. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Former Iraqi Interim Prime Minister Dr. Ayad Allawi, thank you for being guest on Inside Iraq.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you very much.
To watch the show online, please go to aljazeera.net/English. We have reached the end of this show. Join me next week when we take another look inside Iraq. Until then, have a great week.